I was talking to an American friend of mine the other day. I told him, I've been in America for almost 20 years. I think it's time for me to go back home. I think I'll give myself 3 years. He looked at me like I'd lost my mind. He was like, you want to go back to Africa? And I was like, yes. And it was why? And what I told him even surprised me. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, my brother, that's the beauty of it. Many South Africans left home in search of better opportunities abroad. But now, recently, data collected shows that some of them are coming back home. So, in this video, we are going to watch as many of them share their real reason why they choose to return home. Maybe because of family, purpose, identity, or because of the new policy. Well, I don't know. So let's listen carefully to their stories. Their reason might surprise you, and you may even be inspired in their journey.
We're moving back home to South Africa. I can't believe I'm actually saying that and filming this and saying it out loud for people to hear. It's crazy. It's wild because we've obviously been living in France for almost 5 years now, just shy of 5 years, and it's official. Things are booked, deposits are booked, shipping containers booked, the date. We've given notice on our apartment, the dogs. We're sorting out all of their import permits and export permits from France to South Africa. What's wild is I've lived majority of my adult life here in France as well, which is also crazy. So to be going back to South Africa, it's exciting. We're excited, but it is stressful. There's so many things to do, to think about, to make sure that we have. But I'm excited for this next chapter and what we're going to do next with our lives. I do love France. I love our life here in France. We've made some amazing friendships, eaten some amazing food. We've learned a whole new language. So I speak French very good now. I might document the process if I'm not too stressed out of my mind. But I can't believe I'm just saying it. We're moving home.
I've been back in South Africa for 2 years and 1 month now. I arrived on the 23rd of October, 2023. And the number of people that have asked me this is truly shocking. Now, let's start by saying I was born and raised in South Africa. I left when I was 15. My parents got divorced when I was 6, and I had the chance to move to a different country. And at that time in my life, I was super depressed. I had something awful happen to me, and I decided, hell yeah, I'm out of here. But when I got to Canada, I remember for 2 years, all I wanted to do was leave Canada. It is cold as hell, and I was not used to that. People are also way too friendly in that country, like they're always in your bubble. It was tough to get used to. I moved back 23 years after living in Canada, and I had no reason to truly move back. I was struggling in Canada for medical. Canada is not as great as people think. The cost of living there is outrageous. There is about 5 companies that own that entire country. So an open, competitive market is not truly possible. But I personally did very well in that country. And I had tons of properties and real estate. I had my dream house. I made a fortune there. But when it came down to me being at the later stage of my life, I thought, no, I've been back to South Africa 9 times to visit. I said enough. I want to be back in South Africa. Now, there are so many beautiful things about this country that I would take any day over Canada. And that includes the weather. It is just easier to live here for the poor people, for everyone. It's just a happier nation because we have more access to sun and vitamin D. There is more of an open market here. I love that about this country, but it's also a big problem because there's not enough regulation. So a lot of illegal practices are happening day in and day out, and that South Africa, has a problem with. It's truly in control in Canada, so much so that there really is no chance to build a business there because the bigger companies kind of squash you. Medical in Canada is atrocious to say the least, and that is all public. So if you think public South African medical is crap, then please go to Canada, because on average 12,000 people would die waiting for chemo treatment a year. I've done lots of videos about how terrible the Canadian medical is. Cost of living there. You think it's expensive here? Go live there. Honestly, if you're poor in that country, you're in big trouble. You need to make a ton of money, and the government takes their taxes, right? 90% of South Africans are supported by 10% of the taxpayers. Now think about that. Think about how can a country be run if only 10% of people are truly paying their taxes. I mean, that after being here for 2 years and 1 month, this is my take on South Africa. One, we have a major compliance, trust, and regulation problem, and that all stems from the government. After years of apartheid, people were put in place that had zero education, zero care, and just wanted to fill their pockets as quickly as possible, regardless of the people they were hurting. And we see this day in and day out. I mean, the president, we find money in his couch, and everyone's like, we're still going to vote him in. It's fine. You know, we've seen people that are currently in prison running. It's just truly shocking. There are more political parties here to choose from than I've ever seen in my entire life. When I saw the voting card, I was like, holy crap. In Canada, there's like 3 parties to vote for. And that's it. That's your choice. In America, there's like 5. And there isn't a box that says try again. There's just your options. And that's why Trump and Biden, that war was so funny to watch. But in South Africa, we have almost the opposite problem. We have so much happening and no one truly controlling it. And I see this in property. I mean, the things that I've uncovered in the past 2 years and 1 month have truly been mind-boggling. I actually wonder how this country is running at all at this point. You know, it's been quite sad to witness. But I feel like South Africans are focused on all the wrong things. You know, we talk about BEE. I personally think, not because I'm white, I personally think that's a terrible thing for this country because of investment. And investment is what a country needs to survive. If you're not going to have a huge amount of taxpayer dollars, you need to get it from somewhere. You know, so BEE really eliminates a lot of international investment. I think that the true problem in this country is wealth distribution. I don't think that people want their land because there's lots of land available in this country. I truly feel that they want more wealth. They're tired of being in poverty. And how you change that is in you increase the minimum wage. You know, right now at 28 Rand an hour, the most someone will ever make working a full-time job is like 5,000 Rand. That's disgusting. So we should be fighting for an increase in minimum wage. You know, the lack of education. There is nothing between me and you except for accessible education. Education drives someone. If you don't understand how to build a business, you're never going to build a business. But if you're educated in that department, you will succeed. And that is why we see so many people fail in different characters of their life, is because they didn't have enough education to back them. If you don't know how to read or write, how are you even going to work? And then we watch the government drop the education standards to a 30% pass rate because they couldn't have people keep doing. They had to just get them out of the system because there were too many children. So instead of educating them more, they just brought down the standard. And that has truly been mind-blowing in this country. And the more uneducated the population, the more you can manipulate them and tell them that what you're doing is good, even though it's not, because they don't have enough education to understand what the hell you're talking about. And that is not their fault at all. That is designed to be that. It's so that we keep the uneducated voting for us. And that's disgusting. And then we have a racial divide in this country beyond what I can even comprehend sometimes. Like, I'll do a video about Palestine, about 130 people being rescued by gift givers and it not being anything to do with the government. And all we see is race. And we need to help South Africa. I mean, this is a non-profit organization that gets money from donations. It has nothing to do with South Africa. And let's say South Africa declined those people. That's not going to change anything for South Africans, by the way. The government doesn't even support the poor. So what is 130 people going to do? So to watch the humanity in South Africa completely disappear for a war-torn country that we've all watched for the past 5 years be destroyed, and not a single person cared. And the story is Hamas is hiding among that hospital, so we have to bomb it. And nobody cared. You know, there's got to be an ultimate play, right? Because if Israel gets these people to us, because we know they can't leave Gaza without Israel's approval, and that charter was from an Israeli organization, if we stick these Palestinians in South Africa, I mean, great. Now we can say that there's terrorists there, right? And we can do to South Africa what we did by Gaza, because what we've learned is that nobody stepped in to stop it. And even those that tried to were arrested. Most horrific thing I hope to see in my lifetime was what happened to Gaza. And us as South Africans who are used to, you know, we know what apartheid is like. We were there supporting them, but when it comes to physically supporting them, hell to the no. And that hurt my soul. You know, the biggest thing that I've realized about this country is the racial divide is so horrible. You know, I always say I don't see race, and people think I'm crazy. I'm a white person. I'm just trying to pretend that I don't see race. But I truly don't, because I understand scientifically and logically how skin color developed. You know, I burn in this country. I always will, because my ancestry is from a colder climate. So we didn't develop dark skin. Every black person in this country, their ancestors came from Africa and their skin got darker to protect them. It's a protective human mechanism. The longer I stay in South Africa, the darker my skin will get. And when I'm in the sun longer, I'll get darker skin. And that's just the human body. But my heart's the same as your heart, and my blood's the same as your blood. We are all from the same pack. The difference between me as a white person and you, if you're in a poorer community, would be education. Our brains actually work the same, but I had access to fill it more than you did. There's nothing between me and you. And I hate when people use the racial card, because it's a victim mentality. And I know apartheid was wrong, but I had nothing to do it, and a lot of people in this country had nothing to do it. And there's nothing from stopping anyone, especially in this day and age, from getting that education that they want to. And the other thing I see in South Africa is we hate crime and corruption and collusion, but then when people go ahead and change it, I don't know, because it's like the devil you know versus the devil you don't, right? I don't know if I can trust that person. I mean, I've called out a black man for being corrupt, and all I did was make his business bigger. That was shocking. That you know, I didn't care that he was black. He was a bad man. But because it was a white person against a black person, he actually ended up doing more harm, and I did more harm. So those are the things I've learned in the 2 years and 1 month, and I'm going to continue speaking. No one's going to stop me. Anyway, thanks for...
Please, my people, as you're watching, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like and share this video with someone who might be in need of it. Let's keep on watching.
You know, I think I'll give myself 3 years. He looked at me like I'd lost my mind. He was like, you want to go back to Africa? And I was like, yes. And it was why? And what I told him even surprised me. That's the beauty of it. I don't need a reason.